will be introducing you guys to polynomials. But first, there are some definitions that we need to get used to for our new vocabulary. The first definition is term. So a term consists of two parts, a numerical coefficient and a variable coefficient. So I'll show you by way of an example what I mean by that. So if we have a term 5x cubed, our 5 is our numerical coefficient, and our x cubed is our variable coefficient. Another example would be 2ab, our 2 being our numerical coefficient, and our ab being our variable coefficient. Our final definition is algebraic expression, which consists of terms separated by addition and subtraction signs. So for example, an algebraic expression would be 2a plus 5b, because it consists of two terms, so our 2a and our 5b, and is separated by an addition sign. Another example of an algebraic expression would be 3x squared plus 5x plus 4, because again we have 1, 2, 3 terms separated by two addition signs. I encourage you all to now pause the video and try and come up with your own 4-term expression. I will now get into showing some common types of expressions. So these common types are known as a monomial, a binomial, and a polynomial, and each of them have specific characteristics. For example, a monomial is an algebraic expression with only one term, and from above we now know what a term is. A binomial is an algebraic expression with two terms, and a polynomial is an algebraic expression with more than two terms. So let's look at some examples of each of these. An example of a monomial, so an algebraic expression with only one term, would be something like 2x or 5a squared. And from above we know these are monomials because this one term consists of a numerical coefficient and a variable coefficient. Binomial, algebraic expression with two terms, so for example 3a minus 5b, we have two terms separated by a minus sign. And a polynomial, which is an algebraic expression with more than two terms, so for example 5x squared minus 2x plus 6. Again, we have more than two terms, each separated by an addition or subtraction sign. The next part of the lesson deals with addition of polynomials in general. So if you are given a question that says, add the following polynomial together, these are the steps that you would take. So first, you want to simplify the signs if necessary. So you're looking for things like this. We have two signs beside each other. We know we can simplify two negatives to a positive 3. So that's our first step. Just kind of cleaning up the overall polynomial. The next step is group like terms, and you're using the variable coefficient. So for example, if we have a 5a plus a 6x plus a 5b plus a 7x, we know that these two terms are like, so we're going to group them together. So we would rewrite this as 5a plus 5b, and then put the like terms all together. Our next step would be adding the numerical coefficients. So anything that is alike, we can add together. So this 7 and 6x, we can go ahead and change that to 13x. And that was our final step. Let us work through an example. So the first thing that we have here is a polynomial because we have more than two terms and we're asked to simplify it. From our steps above, we know that simplifying the signs is our first thing to look for. Because each of these terms is only separated by one sign, it is actually not necessary for this problem. So let's move on to part 2. Group the like terms by their variable coefficient. So our variables we have are y, x, and nothing. So we need to group all the y's together, all the x's together, and all of the just plain numbers together. So 2x plus 3x minus 5y minus 2y plus 3 plus 2. Now, our step 3 is adding the numerical coefficients, so we can add these two together, these two together, and these two together. And we end up with 5x minus 7y plus 5. This problem is finished as we can't go any further because we cannot combine x's with y's or with numbers with no variable. Moving on to an example 2, we work through the same steps again. So first we need to simplify the signs if necessary. As you can see, we do have a few signs that we will need to simplify. So we'll start there. So 4a, we know this becomes a positive, plus 3b, plus 7, this will become a negative, minus 2a, minus 10b, and this becomes a positive, plus 2. Now we move on to our second step, which is grouping the like terms by their variable coefficients. So we have a's, b's, and numbers. So let's group the a's together. 4a minus 2a. Let's group our b's together. 3b minus 10b. And then finally we group our numbers together. Plus 7 and plus 2. And our final step is to add the numerical coefficients. So we add all our a's together, all our b's together, and all our numbers together. And we end up with 2a minus 7b plus 9. And again, that's as far as we can move with this question. Working into our final example, we see that we have some brackets present. So we must follow the rules of BEDMAS and get rid of our brackets first. So to do so, we're going to simplify the signs by distributing this negative into each term within the brackets. So we can simply remove these brackets because essentially there is a positive in front of this set of brackets. So 2a minus 3, and then minus times a positive, again, is a negative, and a minus times this minus is going to be a positive, so we'll have plus 7. So we've gotten rid of our brackets. Now we can go about step 2, which is group the like terms by variable coefficient. So we have a's and plain numbers. So 2a minus 4a minus 3 plus 7. The next thing on our list is to add these numerical coefficients. So we add our a's and our numbers, and we get negative 2a plus 4. Our final step to make sure this is in absolute simplest terms is we can factor to negative 2 because each of these terms are divisible by 2. This is now our final answer in simplest form. And that concludes the lesson for Introduction to Polynomials.